This is Newsfeed, a look at what people are talking about online, from news stories to trending topics and pop culture. Well, on the same day that Ukraine and Russia carried out their biggest prisoner swap to date, President Volodymyr Zelensky raised some eyebrows by urging his troops to capture more Russian soldiers. Zelensky said that every Russian detained, quote, provides Ukraine with the opportunity to release our heroes, end quote. But at the same time, videos like this have started going viral. A Ukrainian soldier reunited with a loved one. Alla Berezniska is one of 108 women released by Russian forces in the prison exchange. Now, this official from the president's office reacted, saying these reunions are extremely emotional and really special, adding the women are mothers and daughters whose return relatives are anxiously hoping for. This person sums up the general sentiment online, saying, "We cannot even imagine what she and all of them went through. The release of all that stress and trauma must be intense." And this journalist tweeted a photo of a recently released Ukrainian medic, saying she hadn't seen her 4-year-old daughter since May. And here's another expressing the same excitement.
Until the very last moment, we didn't know that we were heading for an exchange. We were transferred in an airplane today. Then, when we were driving and we could see the road, we understood that we were going towards Zaporizhia. We were so happy, we still couldn't believe it. Until we crossed and sat in our buses, we couldn't believe it at all. I will see my mother and my daughter. I don't know, get a job, any job. I don't know. I have no idea about my future.
That's where the good news ends, really. There are fears a new front is opening up from the border with Belarus. That's where Russia deployed nearly 9,000 of its troops that Moscow says are part of a quote-unquote regional grouping. Keep in mind, the last time Russian and Belarusian forces held joint exercises, Kremlin soldiers crossed into Ukraine and carved out a trail of destruction toward the Ukrainian capital. So will we see a repeat of February's so-called tactical exercises?
We came to the Belarus Republic to give a helping hand to the brotherly Belarusian people. We are ready to fulfill any tasks given by the military commanders. The mood is good, the fighting spirit is high.
Reports say an estimated 70,000 Belarusian troops will form the base of this joint force. As we heard from the Russian deputy commander, they will fulfill any tasks given by the commanders. The same person on Twitter also noted the offensive potential these soldiers have if aimed at Ukraine. He says they'd be able to keep Kyiv under siege from the north, while a Russian offensive is launched from the south. And it seems the Belarusian Defense Ministry is already putting contingencies in place with 5,000 enclosed structures to, quote, shelter the population from missile attacks. As this political commentator put it, Ukraine now has to fight Russia, Belarus and Iran. And he asks, what's next? Should we, take out China for everyone too? Next, we head to France, where people are demanding more from the government. More social services, higher salaries, more. Thousands of people marched across France on Tuesday, hoping to pressure their leaders to address the rising cost of living. The nationwide demonstration was called by the left-wing political opposition and led by the head of the France On Board party, Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Our correspondent, Sibel Karkush, is at one of the main transport hubs in Paris.
I'm here at the Gare du Nord, and as you can see behind me, many people are stranded here at these train stations. That's as the public sector in France is on a nationwide strike today. They are joining refinery workers who have been striking for more than 3 weeks now, demanding higher pay. And while the metros remain mainly unaffected, we see severe disruptions with trains, with the SNCF and RATP railway operators striking and saying that about half of all trains are not operating. But it's not only the transport sector that is on strike today. We also have unions and workers from the education to agricultural, but also health sector that are as well as striking and demanding for more higher pay and also protesting for their right to strike. And experts warn that this may not be the last this year and are warning that we could see a much longer winter of discontent.
Well, people in France are used to strikes, but even they've been surprised by the scale of this protest. Enrico here says Tuesday could be a black day for the economy, with workers from all key industries participating. Miguel says President Emmanuel Macron must recognize U.S. natural gas exports to France aren't a quote-unquote friendly gesture, since they cost 4 times more than Russian supplies. And Bjorn says more than 500 high schools mobilized in response to national appeal for solidarity. Australia's newly elected government is already setting itself apart from its predecessors on the international stage. The Australian government says it will stop recognizing West Jerusalem as the Israeli capital. That reverses a decision made in 2018 to follow a controversial move by then US President Donald Trump. Jerusalem's status is a hotly contested issue. Israel sees it entirely as its own capital, while Palestinians want occupied East Jerusalem to be the capital of its future state, which will include the occupied West Bank and Gaza. Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong said her government is committed to a two-state solution in which both Israel and a future Palestine state can coexist in peace and security.
We will not waver in our support of both Israel and the Jewish community in Australia. We are equally unwavering in our support of the Palestinian people, including in the provision of humanitarian support.
Suffice to say, Israel is furious about this, and in social media posts, Prime Minister Yair Lapid described Australia's announcement as a hasty response. He added that he hopes Canberra manages other matters more seriously and professionally. Ouch. Well, this lawyer from Israel is also furious, but has taken a lighter tone. He suggests Israel should move its embassy in Australia from Canberra to Bondi Beach, pending a resolution with the indigenous people upon whose land the country is settled. Others, however, commended the Australian government. Abdurrahman Hayya says it was very courageous, and it shows the cowardice of US President Joe Biden, who could also do the same and reverse his predecessor's move. And this user is calling for other governments to follow Australia's example and stop propping up what he calls the racist apartheid state of Israel. Another big story, there's concern that Elnaz Rekabi, an Iranian rock climber, might be in hot water. She recently competed at the International Federation of Sport Climbing Asian Championships in South Korea without a headscarf. But according to the Twitter account, Iran International English, that's a violation of the Islamic Republic's rules for female athletes. The issue of women's rights in Iran has been a particularly controversial one over the past month after a 22-year-old woman died while in police custody. Mahsa Amini had been arrested by the so-called morality police for allegedly not wearing her headscarf correctly as dictated by Iranian law. Rekabi has since responded and apologized for causing concern, although it's not clear whether her scarf fell or that she chose not to wear it. According to Iran Wire, the athlete could face consequences when she arrives home. And Iran's embassy in South Korea weighed in, denying what it called fake false news and disinformation regarding Rekabi. Here's some news from the people at BioNTech who developed Pfizer's vaccine against COVID-19. They've announced potentially amazing news, but it's not about the pandemic.
We feel that a cure for cancer or to changing cancer patients' life is in our grasp. Scientists tend to show humility because nature and biology has so many secrets, and you only find out about them when you enter this unknown territory on which we have been navigating since 3 decades now. Yeah? Every step, every patient we treat in our cancer trials helps us to find out more about what we are against and how to address that. Yeah. Therefore, as scientists, we are always hesitant to say we will have a cure for cancer. We have a number of breakthroughs and we will continue to work on them.
Okay, here's a look now at what's trending on social media. Shihan Karuna Tilaka has won the prestigious Booker Prize for his book, The 7 Moons of Maali Almeida. The Sri Lankan novelist said he wanted to pen a ghost story where the dead could offer their perspective after the end of the Sri Lankan civil war, when there was a, quote, raging debate over how many civilians died and whose fault it was. Well, it must have been an amazing read. One of the judges said, it takes the reader to the world's dark heart. He adds the reader also discovers the tenderness and beauty, love and loyalty, and the pursuit of an ideal that justifies every human life. Beautiful words. Meanwhile, the British Queen Consort Camilla presented Karuna Tilaka with the prize. She then rushed off to get all fangirl over singer-songwriter Dua Lipa. And from a pop star to the K-pop group BTS, which is swapping its army of superfans for the real thing. It seems the boy band's heading to the military in South Korea, where service there is mandatory. The group had been able to avoid the service until their 30th birthdays, but because of a government bill passed 2 years ago. But since 2 members will turn the big 3-0 next year, they've decided to get the military out of the way. But don't stress, they'll still be able to perform overseas while serving, which will last for no more than 18 months.
Our permission to dance is finally over.
More hilarious tweets. I love this fandom.
Sayang in the military.
Yonki, y will support you no matter what.
Imagine becoming an army active abusing Expo.
We survived the first are only 26,197 hours left until 2025.
Anyway, some sad news. TikTok's resident celebrity Emmanuel is sick. The curious bird, known for stealing the spotlight from its owner, Taylor, has avian influenza. Well, she said Emmanuel got the virus from wild geese that flew onto her South Florida farm. Tragically, around 99% of the farm birds became infected and died. Taylor also said on Twitter that Emmanuel's vitals are stable and that a blood test will be back soon to determine his health. Meanwhile, people rooting for Emmanuel to recover are posting photos of their pets. Like this guy here, whose poodle seems to also be feeling the mood. Lynn says her kitties are sending positive thoughts and prayers. But if you ask me, their facial expressions say they don't really care and might rather see Emmanuel broiled or baked. And this bird sends his love, but is obviously keeping his distance. I mean, no sense in catching the bird flu, right? Accusations are floating around the web about TikTok these days and its connection with money that's sent to help support people living under the Syrian regime. So did you know that cigarette butts are the most common type of plastic waste found in the environment? Well, the stubs are a serious pollution problem, as over 700 million kilos are discarded each year, mostly improperly. I mean, you've always seen people throwing butts to the ground, right? Well, some make their way into waterways and even the food chain. One company in India has found a way to turn that mountain of toxic trash into toys.
Till 31st March 2022, we have already recycled more than 1.2 billion cigarette butts. So our journey is a long way and we have just started.
Great stuff there. Well, that's how we end this episode of Newsfeed. Visit us on YouTube for more and subscribe for updates if you like. Until next time, bye.